I never imagined my life would turn into something out of a bad movie. For years, I thought I had it all, a steady job, great friends, and, most importantly, Jennifer. She was everything I wanted in a partner, smart, funny, kind, and, honestly, drop-dead gorgeous. We met at a 4th of July barbecue at a mutual friend's house. She walked in wearing this light summer dress that made her look like she stepped out of a magazine. From the moment we started talking, I was hooked. Our relationship wasn't just about the sparks, though. We clicked on a deeper level. She shared my love for old jazz records, lazy Sundays spent binge-watching TV, and our mutual dream of traveling to Italy one day. Over time, we built a life together, one that felt solid, unshakable. After 3 years of dating, I decided it was time to propose. The proposal itself was straight out of a rom-com. I took her to the park where we had our first date, got down on one knee, and asked her to be my wife. She cried, said yes, and leaped into my arms. For months after, we were caught up in the excitement of wedding planning. Every detail seemed to bring us closer, from choosing the venue to writing our vows. Life felt perfect, or so I thought. But as the big day drew closer, I started noticing subtle changes in Jennifer. At first, I brushed them off. Planning a wedding is stressful, and I assumed that was all it was. Looking back now, I see the red flags I ignored. The first thing I noticed was how distracted she seemed. Jennifer had always been attentive, someone who remembered the smallest details about our conversations. But suddenly, she started forgetting things, important things. Like the name of the DJ we hired or the fact that my cousin Sarah was flying in from out of town for the wedding. "Sorry, babe, I've just got so much on my mind," she'd say with a nervous laugh whenever I brought it up. Then there were the late-night texts. She'd get these messages that she claimed were from her best friend, Rachel. I didn't think much of it at first. Jennifer and Rachel had been inseparable since college. But something about the way she'd quickly lock her phone and change the subject when I walked into the room didn't sit right with me. "Is everything okay?" I asked her one night when I caught her texting in the middle of dinner. "Oh, it's just Rachel freaking out about her boyfriend again," she replied, avoiding eye contact. "You know how she is." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But there was this gnawing feeling in the pit of my stomach that something wasn't right. The night before the wedding, we held the rehearsal dinner at a quaint little restaurant downtown. It was supposed to be a joyous occasion, a chance for our families and friends to come together and celebrate. But Jennifer seemed distant, almost detached. She laughed at the right moments, smiled for the photos, but her eyes looked far away. After dinner, she told me she was heading to Rachel's place for a girls' night to calm her nerves before the wedding. "You don't mind, do you?" she asked, giving me a quick kiss on the cheek. "Of course not," I replied, though deep down, something felt off. I spent the night at my buddy Mark's place, going over my vows one last time. I was nervous but excited. Tomorrow was supposed to be the best day of my life. Little did I know, it would be the worst. The morning of the wedding was a blur of activity. My groomsmen and I got ready at the venue, a beautiful country estate with sprawling gardens and a picturesque lake. Everyone kept telling me how lucky I was to have found someone like Jennifer. "She's a keeper, man," Mark said, clapping me on the back. "I know," I replied with a grin, though the unease from the night before still lingered. The ceremony was scheduled for 3 p.m., so we had a few hours to kill before heading to the chapel. I decided to take a walk around the property to clear my head. That's when I saw it, the moment that would change everything. As I rounded the corner of one of the estate's smaller buildings, I heard voices, Jennifer's voice. Curious, I moved closer, and that's when I saw them. Jennifer and Rachel were in one of the side rooms, locked in a heated embrace. At first, I thought they were just hugging, but then Jennifer leaned in and kissed Rachel. Not a friendly peck on the cheek, a deep, passionate kiss. I froze. My mind couldn't process what I was seeing. This couldn't be happening. Not on our wedding day. I stepped back, hoping they wouldn't notice me, but my foot hit a loose board, and the noise made them both turn around. Jennifer's face went pale when she saw me. Rachel, on the other hand, just looked annoyed. "Mike, I can explain," Jennifer stammered, her voice trembling. But I didn't want to hear it. I turned and walked away, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't make it far before Jennifer caught up with me. She grabbed my arm, her face a mixture of panic and guilt. "Mike, wait. Please, just let me explain," she pleaded, her voice cracking. I stopped but didn't turn to face her. My mind was racing, my emotions a whirlwind of anger, confusion, and heartbreak. "Explain what, Jennifer?" I finally asked, my voice cold and flat. "What could you possibly say to make this okay?" "It's not what it looked like," she began, but even as the words left her mouth, she winced, knowing how hollow they sounded. "Not what it looked like." I spun around to face her, my voice rising. "I just saw you kissing Rachel. On our wedding day. What the hell am I supposed to think?" Tears welled up in her eyes, but I couldn't tell if they were from shame or because she'd been caught. "It was a mistake, Mike. I don't even know what I was thinking. It didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything?" I repeated, incredulous. "You were making out with your best friend hours before we were supposed to get married. How long has this been going on?" She hesitated, and in that brief moment, I knew. This wasn't a one-time thing. "It started a few months ago," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. "A few months? While we were planning our wedding?" I felt my fists clench, not out of violence but out of a desperate attempt to keep myself from breaking down. "Why, Jennifer? Why would you do this to me? To us?" "I don't know," she said, shaking her head as tears streamed down her face. "I love you, Mike. I really do. But Rachel, she made me feel things I didn't know I could feel." Her words stung more than I thought possible. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the fact that she couldn't even fully own up to it. I stood there, staring at the woman I thought I knew, feeling like a stranger in my own life. I couldn't bear to be around her anymore. Without another word, I turned and walked back toward the main building. My groomsmen were waiting for me, their faces lighting up when they saw me, until they noticed my expression. "Mike? What's going on?" Mark asked, concern etched on his face. "The wedding's off," I said flatly. "What? Why?" he pressed. I couldn't bring myself to explain, not yet. "Just tell everyone it's cancelled," I said before heading to the small suite where I was supposed to get ready. I locked the door behind me and sank into a chair, my head in my hands. The reality of what had just happened hit me like a tidal wave, and for the first time in years, I cried. Word spread quickly. Guests were confused, murmuring among themselves as they waited for an official announcement. Jennifer stayed out of sight, likely too ashamed to face anyone. Mark eventually stepped up and informed the guests that the wedding wouldn't be happening. There was a mix of reactions: shock, sympathy, and outright anger. Jennifer's parents were mortified, and from what I heard later, they demanded answers from her. Rachel slipped out quietly, avoiding the chaos altogether. I stayed holed up in the suite, unable to face anyone. My phone buzzed constantly, calls, texts, voicemails from friends and family trying to figure out what was going on. I ignored them all. When Mark finally came to check on me, I told him everything. She cheated on me, I said, my voice hollow. With Rachel. Mark's eyes widened in disbelief. You're kidding. I wish I was, I replied, staring at the floor. He let out a low whistle, shaking his head. Man, I don't even know what to say. That's messed up. Messed up doesn't even begin to cover it, I said bitterly. The days that followed were a blur. I went back to the apartment Jennifer and I shared, but I couldn't bring myself to stay there. Every corner of that place was filled with memories of her, memories that now felt tainted. I packed a bag and moved in with Mark temporarily. Jennifer tried to reach out multiple times. She left voicemails, sent texts, even showed up at Mark's place once, begging to talk. But I couldn't face her. Not yet. I needed space to process everything. Eventually, I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop, more out of a need for closure than anything else. When I arrived, she looked like she hadn't slept in days. She apologized profusely, tears streaming down her face as she tried to explain her actions. But no matter what she said, it didn't change the fact that she had destroyed everything we'd built together. I can't do this, Jennifer, I said, cutting her off mid-sentence. I can't marry someone who betrayed me. It's over. She broke down, sobbing into her hands, but I didn't feel sorry for her. I felt empty. After the meeting with Jennifer, I fell into a deep depression. It wasn't just the betrayal or the cancelled wedding, it was the loss of everything I thought I knew about my future. For months, I'd envisioned a life with her. Now, that vision was gone, replaced by a gaping hole I didn't know how to fill. I stopped going out. I avoided my friends and family, ignoring their attempts to reach out and support me. Even Mark, who had been my rock through all of this, started to grow frustrated. Mike, you can't just sit around and wallow forever, he said one night as he sat across from me on the couch. You've got to get back out there, do something. Back out there for what? I shot back. So I can get burned again. No thanks. He sighed, shaking his head. I get it, man. What she did was awful. But you can't let her win by giving up on your life. I knew he was right, but the truth was, I didn't know how to move forward. Every day felt like an uphill battle just to get out of bed. Nights were the worst. I'd lie awake for hours, replaying that moment when I saw Jennifer and Rachel together. The pain was like a knife twisting in my gut, and I didn't see a way out. One night, I hit rock bottom. I was alone in Mark's apartment, nursing my third beer of the evening, when I came across an old photo of Jennifer and me on my phone. We were at the beach, laughing as the sun set behind us. I stared at it for what felt like hours, the memories flooding back like a cruel reminder of what I'd lost. Something inside me snapped. I threw the phone across the room, watching as it shattered against the wall. Then I sat down on the floor and cried, the kind of deep, guttural sobs that come from a place of utter hopelessness. I didn't know how long I sat there, but eventually, I picked myself up and looked in the mirror. My reflection was a stranger, a man with bloodshot eyes, unshaven, and defeated. I realized then that I couldn't keep living like this. If I didn't find a way to climb out of this hole, it would swallow me whole. The next morning, I decided to take a walk to clear my head. It was the first time in weeks I'd ventured outside for anything other than work. As I wandered aimlessly through the neighborhood, I spotted a small cafe I hadn't noticed before. On a whim, I went inside. That's when I saw her, Katie. She was sitting at a corner table, sipping a cup of tea and reading a book. At first, I wasn't sure it was her. It had been years since high school, but there was no mistaking that warm smile and those sparkling blue eyes. Katie? I said hesitantly as I approached her table. She looked up, her face lighting up with recognition. Mike. Oh my gosh, it's been forever. We hugged, and for the first time in what felt like ages, I felt a spark of something other than despair. We spent the next hour catching up. She told me about her battle with cancer, how she'd fought through chemo and come out the other side stronger than ever. Her resilience was inspiring. You've been through hell and back, I said, shaking my head in admiration. How did you do it? She smiled softly. One day at a time. That's all you can do. Something about Katie's words stuck with me. If she could face something as terrifying as cancer and come out stronger, maybe I could find a way to overcome my own struggles. We exchanged numbers, and over the next few weeks, we started meeting up regularly. Katie became a lifeline for me, a reminder that life could go on, even after unimaginable pain. She didn't just offer sympathy, she challenged me to confront my feelings and take steps toward healing. Have you thought about therapy? She asked one day over coffee. I shrugged. I don't know. Feels like admitting I can't handle it on my own. Sometimes admitting that is the bravest thing you can do, she said gently. I took her advice and started seeing a therapist. It wasn't easy, talking about Jennifer, the betrayal, and the depression that followed felt like reopening old wounds. But over time, it helped. I started to see that what happened to me wasn't a reflection of my worth. It was a choice Jennifer made, and it didn't define me. As the months passed, I began to rebuild my life. I reconnected with old friends, picked up hobbies I'd neglected, and even started going on the occasional date. Jennifer, meanwhile, became something of a pariah. Word of her betrayal spread through our social circles, and even some of her family members distanced themselves from her. It wasn't something I took pleasure in, but it did bring a sense of closure. Katie and I grew closer during this time. What started as a friendship slowly blossomed into something more. She was patient and understanding, never pushing me to move faster than I was ready. For the first time in a long time, I felt hope. One evening, as Katie and I sat on a park bench watching the sunset, I realized how far I'd come. The pain of Jennifer's betrayal was still there, but it no longer controlled me. I had found strength in myself, in Katie, and in the belief that life could still be beautiful. Thank you, I said, turning to her. For what? She asked, her eyes full of warmth. For reminding me that I'm worth more than what happened to me. She smiled and took my hand. You've always been worth more, Mike. You just needed to see it. Looking back now, I see that experience for what it was, a painful lesson in trust, resilience, and self-worth. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: cheating is a betrayal of more than just a person, it's a betrayal of the love, trust, and future you've built together. But even after the deepest betrayal, life goes on. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it leads you to something even better.